Hello and welcome to
Hey, we like your pod.
And we're going to tell you why. Hi, it's Dawn here, and I'm joined as always by my trusted partner, Matt Pickett. And our very special guest this week is Jersey Al Bronco. Did I say that right?
Rocco.
I know. I just thought about it. I was like, I would have remembered that if it was Bronco. Jersey Al, nice to meet you.
Yeah, good to see you guys.
Love that you jumped on with us. Love the wall behind you. Would you like to give us a quick tour? We are a podcast, but we do also we do have a visual video.
Yeah, I just have a few Packers things on this wall. I mean, I'm not a big collector or anything like that, but back when I went to my first Packer game, which was Mike McCarthy's first game as a head coach, and they got destroyed by the Bears. They at that time the what you call it I can't think of the word. The pro shop.
Oh, okay.
Pro shop. They had like a separate little one. It was separated from the main area, and there was a separate little one where they only had things like this, like old photographs, and I'm not sure why they had it separated like that, but I walked in there and I was like, oh, this is gold, and they were just these photos. They were dirt cheap, so I picked up a bunch, and that's where all the black and white ones came from. Nice. The Favre, see if I can figure this out. The Favre star one was always my favorite for a long time.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. Good.
That's good.
Gosh.
Going down this way, I don't know if you can see it, but down, I can't really point to it. We're down here. It's sort of like a collage I did when I went to the Seattle snow globe game.
Oh, nice.
So I've got like the newspaper the next day. I've got a photo of Favre when he did that underhanded toss, and kind of proud of that one because I created that myself. But so just a few things. Honestly, I have things in boxes down here too that I don't know what to do with. So I'm trying to go through them and decide, who wants them or what I want to do with them. So anyway.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, it's a great visual, for people who are just hearing the podcast version, check out the YouTube at least for a minute because it is a great visual behind Al, a great backdrop. It's spectacular.
I love that brick red too. Yeah. I used to have a brick red suede wall in my living room in my home, and it was just
suede, no less.
Suede. Yeah. I like that. It's just a little texture, but I like that color a lot. It's beautiful. And then I'm a sucker for black and white photos too. So
yeah, so same here.
We love creativity. So the fact that you did that collage, man, that's fantastic. We're creative. We're a creative podcast, aren't we, Maddie?
Yeah.
We love our creatives.
Made our own theme music. You made your own background there. Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that you playing the trombone?
Yep.
That's Matt. Yeah, that's Matt. Matt playing the trombone, and I do the graphics. And I'm thinking about redoing our look a little bit, but I haven't gotten around to it. I was going to talk to Matt about it.
Okay. Some off season.
Yeah, a little. Yeah. I'm doing subtle changes here and there. Yeah,
it's always good to refresh.
Yes,
freshen things up.
I think so, and I've done like subtle things here and there, and I haven't. No one's really said anything. I think there may be too subtle. Like it's been real gradual. Like I'll add a little extra this or something like that. But yeah. But I love art. Can never have enough art. I've got a lot of art. Every inch of wall that I can. But there's always
See,
room for more. There's always room for
I
more.
am not the creative brain at all. I couldn't draw a thing if you asked me to. That collage is about as creative as I get. Just
I love
pasting
it.
some pictures together. So
Yeah.
I'm totally Mr. Science, Mr. Technical. So not creative at all. But anyway.
So before we started, Al, you mentioned, and I don't even know if Matt heard it or not, but that you generally don't do a lot of in front of the camera or recordings, right? Are you more of a behind the scenes kind of guy?
Yeah, I've kind of always been like that. Never, I guess I was raised to be humble, and to not look for attention and that kind of thing, and it's kind of stuck with me, I guess. I did run a company for 30 years. I had my own IT services business, so that kind of forces you to get out in front of people a little more and those type of things. So I did what I had to, but I would never say I wouldn't be your salesy type, that type of person. Just recently sold the business to my longtime employee, but I help them out 2 days a week, so I still have my hands in it a little. But yeah, I've always been an operations type guy.
Yeah.
I didn't know that you had your own business, and so congratulations on that, and also on selling it. That's amazing. Of course, you talk about creativity. It's just limited to like artistic creativity, but I mean all this stuff, and since you're a humble guy, I'll try to rein in it a little bit here, but it's going to be a lot of us saying how cool you are in this episode. So heads up.
No, I'm going to hate that. But
I know.
I know. I don't know if you liked my YouTube post. I was like, is he going to read it? He's not going to like this, I don't think. I don't know.
I'll just say, there's a lot of things that exist because of the work you did,
Right.
And that's creativity right there,
True, because you create you're like the grandfather of a lot. Like we call
the Godfather.
I am a grandfather.
Yeah.
Well, the reason I said that, not to be ageist, but because
it's okay. I'm not sensitive.
Good, because you're from New Jersey, right? Is that a new?
Yep.
Not. Yep, that's kind of part of the. You can say things, not that the people from New Jersey don't have feelings. I'm not saying that, but
what are you saying, Don?
Culturally,
we're hard. You can say it. We're kind of hardened. Yeah, it's okay.
It's cool,
and we're proud of it. We're proud of it, so no big deal.
That's what I meant, culturally. Okay, so normally how we get started on our show when we have a wonderful guest such as you is we will start with your Twitter. And so I'm going to read your Twitter, even though most of our audience probably knows you. We're going to try to get to know you a little bit better in ways that maybe are new to some people and to us for sure. So your Twitter reads at Jersey LGBP, meaning Green Bay Packers, of course.
Of course.
Editor, part owner of Cheesehead TV and Packers Talk, Cheesehead radio host, self-proclaimed pizza expert, in parentheses, snob. We're okay with that. Wine enthusiast, music fan, and serial concert goer. You hail from New Jersey, and your links are cheeseheadtv.com and packerstalk.com. So my first and most important question, the first is always the most important. Thin or thick crust? 3 times, and I've got this is a multi-part because we're talking pizza here because it's pizza. Okay,
there's a lot to cover here with pizza.
Thinner thick crust. 3 top pizzas in your area. What you think about Wisconsin pizza, and do you have 3 top Wisconsin pizzas? And then there's some parentheses there. Have you been to Wells Brothers in Racine? That's my favorite. And then I want to also get wine with pizza recommendations. So, okay, that was a 5-part question.
That was like a Pat McAfee question. That was like
I don't know if I'm going to remember all that, but we'll start with.
I'll help you.
I've had pizza in Wisconsin one time, and I don't know that I would call it pizza.
Yeah.
So I have to keep up the snob portion. I have to.
That's okay.
Go by my character there, but I don't know that I would have called that pizza. So thin or thick crust, what do you define as thick crust? Because there's all different styles and all different
True.
versions of thick crust.
Being from Wisconsin, and my favorite Wells Brothers pizza is like paper thin crust, and then
Like
just
cracker
down
crust
over the
almost?
bowl. Kind of sort. It's very unique, isn't it, Matt? I dragged Matt there.
I would describe it as like cracker crust. Yeah, it's very thin, very
Okay.
crispy, as opposed to like a New Haven style, which is very thin but like not crispy.
Ooh.
Okay, so you've had New Haven pizza.
I lived in New Haven for 6 years. It's my favorite pizza in the world.
Oh man, okay, so you know a little bit about pizza then.
Yep,
Okay.
I'd say so.
But
All
then
right, so
over
go
the
ahead.
border, Chicago like style, that kind of thick crust, that's just like
Casserole.
so thick and so
Nope.
just, it's like eating a pan of gnocchi, really, and which is a lot. That's a lot. Anyway, so you asked what I consider thick. So yes, there's
Right.
a lot in between.
Yeah.
Okay, you also have Detroit style. Have you ever had Detroit style? Which is a little less thin than Chicago
Mhm.
crust. Much thicker than New Haven style or New York style.
Mhm.
It's kind of in between, and what they do there is they put the sauce on top of the cheese, and they
Yeah.
put
Oh,
it all the way to the end of the crust. Then there's Sicilian style. Are you guys familiar with that? Sicilian style? That might be a New Jersey thing.
I'm not. What's that like?
Okay,
Well,
it's a thicker crust, but it's probably a little thinner than Detroit style. I would say.
Mhm.
It gets baked like for a half hour beforehand, and they have the crust waiting there. And somebody orders one, then they'll just put the cheese and the sauce on it and put it back in the oven. So it's a whole different procedure in making it as well. Usually, it's got a lot of oregano. It's got a lot of olive oil on the cheese as well. So it's got a slightly tangier taste. The sauce does, as opposed to other pizzas where the sauce might be a little sweeter. And then you've got bar pie, what we call here bar pie, which might be similar to what you were talking about with the Wisconsin with the thinner crust.
okay.
Okay, I'm taking through all the different pizzas
Bar
here.
pie. I love that.
And then
Bar
we have
pie.
standard New York style, which
Mhm.
we have here in New Jersey as well. What we have in New Jersey, any pizzeria you walk into, it'll be basically New York style.
Mhm.
Right.
My favorite is none of those, but rather it's Neapolitan style.
Mm.
Yes.
Oh,
Which
that's
I knew
happy.
that was going to be happy about that,
Yep.
right?
That's New Haven
That's
style.
what New Haven is all about.
Mhm.
Very high heat ovens, usually either coal fired or wood fired ovens. Tremendous crispy yet doughy crust, and just so much goodness.
Yeah. First time I had one, like with the edges being charred, I was like, they burnt the pizza, and I was like, oh, and it's delicious. It's,
Yeah,
it's
but
fine.
then you said, "Hey, wait a minute, it's okay."
The way to do it. Yeah, no, absolutely,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
I miss it. I mean, I live in Cincinnati now, so obviously don't have any kind of access to it, but there is a Neapolitan pizza place in town that like people who lived in New Haven, so like they know what it's supposed to be like, and it's pretty close. So I'm lucky for that at
Mhm.
least.
Yeah,
Yay.
I've been to several of the famous New Haven ones. Frank Pepe, Sally's, Modern. I've been to all
Modern.
those. And I used to have it's funny. I used to have a client in New Haven. It was like a hotel or something, and a lot of times they had a problem or something that I really could have solved remotely,
Mhm.
but I took the opportunity to drive to New Haven to do this in person. It probably could have taken me 15 minutes doing
Yep.
it remotely, but I made the drive, which was about an hour and 20 minutes or so, so I could go visit one of those pizzerias.
Oh, I love
So
that.
that's how
I
good it
literally
is.
lived on the same block as Modern, like right there.
really?
So yeah, striking distance. I loved it.
Mm.
Very
So
good.
where did you have that pizza that you weren't impressed with in Wisconsin? Was it in Green Bay or?
Actually, it was in Kroll's. So maybe that doesn't count.
Oh, not a pizza place. So yeah.
Kroll's?
Yeah, maybe that doesn't count. We were just hanging out, watching a game, and somebody ordered a pizza, and I had some, and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So I shouldn't be that snobby. I haven't really been to a real pizzeria in Wisconsin, so
Well,
Cool.
You mentioned one in Racine, right, Dawn? Or
well, right. There's like a little Italy in a lot of these cities that are a little bit more city-ish. And certainly in Chicago, there's a little Italy, but in so there were several Italian family-owned business restaurants in a certain area. I mean, there are pizza places everywhere, but most of them were family-owned, the ones that I would like. And the one where I brought Matt. And those neighborhoods are now like super, like they have to have a security guard out in the car in the drive in the parking lot because the neighborhoods have deteriorated. Actually, some of them are a little bit more on the abandoned side. Now I went back this last summer. I think probably COVID really changed the complexion. But yeah, and I learned how to make pizza from my mother-in-law who was Sicilian, and I have her recipe, the sauce, all of it, and the crust. And
how thick is the crust?
It wasn't thin, but it's so good. It didn't matter. Like it was light. It's light. I haven't made it in years.
Airy,
but,
right?
Sorry.
Airy.
Yes.
Light and airy.
Yes, and I'm
But
trying to
still
remember.
crispy.
I think we probably did cook it ahead and then put stuff on and then
You didn't realize it, but you made Sicilian pizza.
Right. Oh, I knew it was Sicilian. Yeah.
But you didn't realize it was what we call Sicilian here. Anyway,
Right.
is what I meant.
Gotcha. Okay, so wine with pizza, or no?
Wine with pizza, of course.
Yeah. What's your favorite, like top 3 wines?
Well, it really kind of depends on your toppings. Really, is the way I look at it. You know, it's not about the pizza itself; it's about the toppings. And actually goes, you know, that's a general rule for wine pairing anyway. With any food, you know, like it's not so much what the protein is; it's how it's prepared, what kind of sauce, what kind of spices, etc. That's what you really pair the wine with. So, you know, if you're going with something like sausage or whatever, I'd go with or actually Speck. I'm going to tell you about Speck. Have you ever heard of Speck?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
No?
Wine? A Speck wine?
It's a pizza topping.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was like, I didn't hear of Speck wine. It must have. Okay. No. I have not. It's okay. It's okay. Right. I'll keep up.
It's actually what it is it's smoked prosciutto.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
so good.
It's fantastic. It might be my favorite topping to have on a pizza. So anyway, a nice California Syrah goes great with that. Nice hearty earthy Syrah would go good with that. If you go with something like mushrooms, I'd probably go with a Pinot Noir. You need something that's you know, a little bit lighter to kind of not compete with the mushroomy taste that you're going to get, or truffle oil if they happen to have truffle oil on there. If you're going with a pesto pie or something, I'd go with a white wine. I'd go with like a Sauvignon Blanc or something along those lines. So really, it all depends to me on your toppings.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Do you have so do you tend to order different toppings, specific toppings for type of pizza that you're ordering? Like, so your New Haven type, whatever restaurant you're going to, do you like to just get the same top? Because that's how I am. Do you do that?
Yeah, no, to an extent, yeah. The Neapolitan style that I was talking about, that's where I really got into the Speck, the smoked prosciutto. That with and especially if you pair it with fresh mozzarella cheese, it's just a fantastic combination. It really is. So yeah, if anytime I'm going to that type of restaurant, I'm looking for something like that. If I'm just going to a standard Jersey pizza joint or a New York style pizza, it could really be anything. I'd probably go pepperoni. That's kind of like a classic here. Go with pepperoni on that. Sicilian, I don't usually look for a topping on Sicilian or thicker crust. I like a lot of sauce, a lot of cheese, and that's it.
Yeah. It made me hungry for pizza.
Right? And we're all going to now go home and or go after this and go look through our fridges and think, damn, there's no pizza.
That's right.
I haven't had pizza in a long time. I really don't like most pizzas out here in California. I will be honest.
I've had some California pizza and
I mean, even the really great places where people just love, like the wood fire places and the crust that they work really hard on and stuff, and it's still like always quite right. It's like, I don't think I'm going to get this. You know, people are raving. And then, of course, because I'm this way, people are always dragging me to pizza places because what about, you're going to like this one.
You got to try this one. You got to try this one.
It's like, oh, yes, it's really good. It's like, oh, no.
But they're too fancy in California, right? They're too fancy.
Yeah,
you know, they try to fancy everything up and make it cheesy, and that's not what pizza is supposed to be.
Right.
It's a
do
food of the people.
You know, oh, let's be creative. We'll make a flatbread. Okay.
Right.
Entirely different.
Here's my pizza snobbery showing up again, but
that's okay. No, you're not alone on that. You're not alone. California pizza. Have you ever had pizza in California, Matt?
No, I mean, I haven't been to California, but I mean, I was going to say that California is known for a lot of things, but pizza is not one of them.
It's not one of them. And there isn't like a California style. Let's just get this straight. Right. Let's not get this twisted. There is no such thing as California pizza. So you did not hear that come out of my mouth. There's a restaurant, a chain thingy called California Pizza, though, I think.
Pizza Kitchen? Yeah.
California Pizza Kitchen.
Yeah.
Yeah, we used to have one here. I
never order pizza there. It's not for pizza. It's like they've got salads and stuff.
I can't remember the last time I ordered from any type of chain pizzeria.
Right. Oh, yeah.
And really, I'd say, just shoot me if I ever do that, because there's so many. There's hundreds of fantastic pizzerias where I live, so
you have choices.
No reason to ever do it.
Right.
And yet, the Domino's trucks going, cars going by every day, and people are ordering up. I'm like,
right.
I just want to teach people. I'm like, no, you're doing it all wrong.
Exactly.
Let me tell you where to go. Don't go to Domino's. Sorry, Domino's. But
I'm sure they're nice people, but
I'm sure, yes. They mean no harm. No harm.
So another thing Wells Brothers does in a lot of these family restaurants back where I'm from is make their own sausage. So it's not like purchased. And it's usually with fennel. Like theirs is always with fennel, but back where I'm from in the Midwest, this sausage always has a healthy amount of fennel. You know, you can actually take
What's wrong with that?
Do you like the fennel? Are you a big fan of fennel? Yeah. I don't like sausage at all, but if I have to have it, if I'm being forced there, I will.
Eat sausage? What is that scenario, Don? How does it come to that? Where you're being forced to eat sausage?
Well, if I were starving and there was nothing else, or if I should say, if I really got a craving when I was back home and I was going to that restaurant, then that would be like, well, I'm here. I have to eat it. That's like a forced eat.
That makes sense. Pizza. All right.
Yeah. Okay. So 2 hours later, we're still on pizza. That's funny.
That was some pizza discussion. Let me tell you.
I am so glad.
It's going to be a long podcast.
I'm sure our guests are going to love your pizza commentary, though. We need that. We need that off-season content. Okay. So it seems to me, and to Matt too, and I think this is Matt's question, actually, I stole it. It seems like you're ground zero for virtually every Packers podcast on our radar these days. So how did that happen? How did you learn so much about football? And how did you become an expert in content creation?
Wow, deep questions.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess probably let's start at the beginning. Probably around 15, 16 years ago, I discovered something called Bleacher Report. Now, if you remember, back when it first started, it was a place where anybody could just, create a login and just write. There were no qualifications needed. It didn't matter who you were. You could just go and write, and there were people there to read what you were writing. And I was like, wow, this is pretty cool, Yeah. So I did that for a year or two. This was about around Favre's last year with the Packers or so, and I decided. I mean, a lot of people liked what I was writing, so I said, why don't I start my own website? So I originally did remember something called Blogspot? It was I did a jerseyhound.blogspot for a year or so, and then before I actually put together my own website, which was called allgreenbaypackers.com. Shortened that to allgbp.com later on. And eventually that became Packers Talk. So we've been doing that for about 15 years, I'm going to say. At that time, I met C.D. Angeli, and we got to talking, and we said, hey, let's do a podcast. And we started Cheesehead Radio. At that time, there were probably 3, maybe 4 Packers podcasts in existence. Try to think about that with the landscape as it is now.
It's crazy.
I mean, give me a number. How many podcasts? I don't know the answer, but how many Packers podcasts do you think exist out there?
So many. I listened to half of them at least.
I tried to count when we started our show here, because what we do is we try to bring out content from other people. And I stopped at like 100.
Yeah, there's hundreds.
Yeah,
basically. I don't know the exact number, but there are hundreds.
Going, I was just like, okay, this is ridiculous. I don't even know.
So the original, as far as I know, unless something came before them and dissipated quickly, was Packers Therapy.
Oh,
yeah, this has been forever. Yeah, they're the originals, and they're actually on Packers Talk. We host their podcast. You really should talk to those 2 guys. They're a riot. They would be good guys to interview. Then Packers Transplants, Cheesehead TV was the next one in line, and then Cheesehead Radio after that. And of course, we did radio because TV was taken, and we never envisioned doing anything video anyway, so we thought that made sense. So that's kind of where it all started, and it just kind of developed from there. With Packers Talk, for a couple of years, I just kind of wrote by myself, and I said, man, this is a lot. At the time, I was still working full time, so I said, why don't I see if other people are interested in writing? And that's how that started. So I started bringing other people in, and some of them were really good and went on and did other things, and are actually working in media and in the business, making money, writing and broadcasting and doing those type of things. But I take zero credit for their success at all. What I did, and I'm always very clear about this, is I gave them, I identified people that I thought had potential, and I gave them a platform. So this guy, he can. I always make people send me a sample. Send me a sample of your writing, write me an article about the Packers, whatever. And I think I'm a fairly good judge of whether they can write or not, just based on that one sample after all these years. So I give them the opportunity, give them the platform. Hey, people are going to read your stuff. Do with it whatever you want. Some people work their asses off and grinded and wrote 3-4 times a day, and they went on to do great things. Other people, wasn't that important to them, and that's fine. It's not for everybody. So the people who did advance and are now in jobs and doing those type of things are the ones that work their asses off. There's one common denominator between all of them. They could all write, but they all wanted it and worked their asses off. So, okay, before we go further, who are some of those people who did write for
Who are those
the website?
people?
What's that?
Who are those people?
Who are those people?
Not a Seinfeld fan, or? Well, I just happen to have a list. If you want,
we have a list. We have a list. Should we segue to the list? We could segue to the list.
Your show.
Okay. Before we segue to the list, though, I have a question before, because I know that it would sound weird if I asked the question afterwards. So before we get to the list, how on earth did you become a Packers fan in New Jersey?
The question you always get asked, right? Well, the first Packer game I remember watching was the first football game. Sorry, I remember watching was the first Super Bowl. there might have been games before that, but they didn't make any impact. You know, I was probably 10 at the time, I'm going to say. And I remember, you know, Bart Starr and Vince Lombardi, and Vince Lombardi had coached in New Jersey. So there were a lot of Packer fans in New Jersey, and still to this day are, for that reason. Most of them are my age group, you know, but that became Packers fans because of Vince Lombardi in this area. So, you know, when you're a kid, you watch a couple of games, you pick a team that's winning, and you're like, yeah, that's my team, right? It's simple as that usually, right? Especially if you're not from that area. Every other team I root for in every sport is a New York team. You know, Yankees, Knicks, Rangers, you know, you name it. Everybody is, but except for the Packers, they're the only ones. Then when I went to high school and I had an illustrious high school football career. I mean, Al Bundy proportions, if you know what I'm talking about. No, you know, I started for a year or two, but nothing spectacular. Anyway, our head coach, actually had some connection to Vince Lombardi.
Oh,
like he had either, I don't think he played on a team that Lombardi coached in New Jersey, but he might have played on an opposing team, you know, that played against Lombardi teams or whatever. And so I had another Lombardi connection there, right? And I'm like, all right, and that kind of kept me from drifting away from the Packers, because at that time was the 70s, and you know, things weren't so hot in the 70s. It would have been easy to pick another team, right? So I think that kind of kept me in there. And then once I decided, that was it for life. You know, I'm a one-team guy for life. So
nice.
I like that. And so you do like other sports in addition to football? Yeah. What's your second favorite?
I like all sports. Lately, I'm watching a lot of more basketball, a lot of Knicks. I've always been a Knicks fan, you know, going back to the 69 and whatever the other year was when they won the championship with Willis Reed, Clyde Frazier, Earl Monroe, Dave DeBusschere, Bill Bradley, you know, those teams. That cemented it for me. Now that they're actually halfway decent again, I'm watching more Knicks games. I watched the Rangers. I was just watching the Rangers game before we got on here. Actually, they're beating Montreal 5-2, which is nice. Baseball, I've watched less baseball. You know, the whole thing where it's gotten a little too slow for me, and too much time. You know, the batters stepping, and they're trying to fix that. I realize that, you know, with batters stepping out of the batter's box every time, and the pitcher stepping off the mound. It got a little too slow. So I imagine, and plus the fact that the Yankees have kind of stunk the last couple of years. So I imagine if they can find a way to actually start winning again, I'll probably get more interested there. I watch a lot of soccer too.
Yeah,
a lot of soccer. Yeah, Serie A in Italy. I watch those games. I watch the, what's the league in the U.S. here? What's it called?
I can't think.
I don't know.
I used to think FIFA, but FIFA is the governing body. I can't think of the name of
it. FIFA. I'm drawing a blank, but anyway.
Yeah.
So my kids both played soccer. I coached soccer for them. So that solidified my soccer thing. We went to the Women's World Cup with Mia Hamm and Judy Foudy when they won here.
Fun. I was going to ask if you watched women's soccer. I like women's
soccer. Absolutely, yeah. A lot of times I like it better.
Yeah.
You know, because they're more technical of what they're doing. You know, there's a lot more freewheeling in the men's game, which means a lot of times guys are like ball hogging. The women are passing it when they're supposed to pass it. They're shooting when they're more disciplined a lot of times. So, and I appreciate that. So
yeah, cool.
Better teamwork. Talking about soccer tonight, but okay.
Here we are.
Okay, so you don't really have Wisconsin connections aside from your
zero.
Yeah, that's interesting. Because oftentimes in fact, I just met. I usually ask the question, "How did your week go?" before we start, and I totally just remembered I didn't ask that.
We had to talk about
Part-
pizza. It was more important than how
I know, right? Part of my week,
Priorities.
Yes.
my Super Bowl win of the week was finding out that my new neighbor is a Packers fan.
Oh, nice.
Is it what, man?
She's a Packers fan.
Oh.
I was outside before the Super Bowl started and she was taking off. She said, I decided to go watch the Super Bowl. And I asked where, and I was like, I was thinking of watching it there too, but I'm staying in. And she said, doesn't really matter. I'm a Packers fan. And I was like,
What?
so then
We
I
need to
kept
talk.
her for like, we did for like 10 minutes and just like, I got to go. Somebody's waiting for me. So yeah, that was really fun to meet another Packers fan. They're everywhere.
They're everywhere.
Everywhere. And she's not from here either. Like I'm not from here. She's from, I want to say Utah by way of another state. So it's just in they didn't have teams there. It was kind of her, and her dad and mom, I think, were from Wisconsin. So, and her grandmother is from there. So, yeah.
Al, when you're talking about like kids seeing a team that's doing well and taking on that fandom, that's definitely a big thing. But if it's not that, then it's from your family, like whatever your
Either or.
parents are watching, for sure.
Yeah, your story is similar to Tom Grassi's because he saw the Packers play and he's like, that's my team. And he never turned back.
He was also doing it as a rebellious act against his dad's team.
His dad, which we love because his dad's a Cowboys fan.
Oh, okay.
So we love that.
I didn't have any like family influences either because my parents were I'm first generation Italian. I was actually conceived in Italy and born in the United States.
Oh wow!
So I took a prenatal boat ride. My mother was pregnant with me when they came to this country. So they didn't, they had no use for American sports at all. Just soccer. I would watch soccer all the time. Actually, I guess that's where I got that from.
Yeah.
But football, baseball, basketball, hockey, they knew nothing of those sports. So whatever developed on my own, really, in those major sports.
Nice.
I love it. Well, before we get to that list, which we're going to get to, one more question. So about She's Head TV and Packers Talk, what is involved with being editor in chief? I believe you are. What's involved with what you do at She's
I
Head
gave myself the in chief. It just sounded good,
It's beautiful. It's wonderful. So what's involved with that?
Impressive.
It is impressive. I'm impressed.
Yeah, I mean, mostly as far as the website goes, I'm mostly involved with just finding good writers, giving them direction, editing if necessary. But if they're good enough writers, there really isn't a lot of that to do. Promoting, making sure that things work on the website are working the way they're supposed to. So it's a lot of back end stuff, basically.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And so somebody who has a career in IT, you said, right? That makes sense that you'd be the person for that back end stuff, making sure the websites work and so forth. So it makes a lot of sense.
Right. I mean, I'm not the web master or anything, but still I'm on guard for any little issues or whatnot and make sure that, they get resolved and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And, I always loved writing, I was always better with the written word than I was with the spoken word, from a early age to now, really. I'd much rather write than, I don't want to make it sound like that. No, I was about to say talk to people, but that's not true. I talk to people, but I'm not overly outgoing, put it that way.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that makes sense.
This is about as outgoing as I get right now. You're seeing it. After this, I'm going back into my little shell there.
Writing is, creative. It's a creative outlet for sure. So once again, more creative than I think you're giving yourself credit for, Al.
Possibly.
Good point. Okay, so all right, so we're gonna talk about this, but on that, if somebody wants to write for, sorry, I know we're never gonna get to the list.
It's so funny. Let's do this list, but first,
the ultimate tease.
I know, right? I'm on the edge of my seat for this list.
I know the list. I can't wait to get to the
Give
list.
it to me already. Come on.
Okay, so if somebody wants to write for Cheesehead TV, are you kind of the last word on that, or does it go through you?
I'm the only
the only
word.
word.
The only word.
I
Better yet.
decide if no, really. I mean,
Yeah.
I decide if they're good enough, and
Yeah.
obviously we need there has to be a spot available too. I'm not just
Right.
gonna bring 1,000 writers in. We can't afford that. You know?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. We have more questions, but we're going to get to the list now because there's quite the list. So
Wait, Dawn, I have another question. But just kidding.
So back, just back to remind everyone what the list is about. So the question was, it seems like you're ground zero for virtually every Packers podcast on our radar. And so you have tentacles. I don't know. I think that's a positive word, like everywhere. So via Packers Talk, we've got, and so each one of these has their own conversation, but we'll try not to have a conversation about each one of them. But let's start with the list. So via Packers Talk, we have Zach Cruz, Packers Wire, Marcus Eversole, WDUZ, Ross Uglum, Packer Report. We love these guys. Paul Brettel, Packers Wire, Jacob Westendorf, Sports Illustrated Packer Report, Andrew Mertig, Pack-A-Day, Brandon Carwile, Packers Wire, and that's just through Packers Talk. Then with Cheesehead TV, you've mentioned Andy Herman, who has Pack-A-Day, Dusty Evely, of course, he's on Pack-A-Day, and he also does his own YouTube channel and doing great jobs, all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
I didn't write it because I would just be going on
a great
forever.
thing. Oh my gosh. Maggie Loney, Packs What She Said, Jason Perrone, Pack-A-Day, Zachary Jacobson, Packer Reports. So yeah, so gosh.
There are other names too. I just picked the ones.
Names.
There are others too. I just picked the ones that people would know the best, probably. You know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure there are others. Okay, so how did you connect with each of these? I mean, did you put a call out that you were looking for talent?
Yeah, well, that's what I do now. When I do, I get about 100 responses.
Sure.
Which I hate myself for doing that every time because I'm going to respond to everybody. I mean, I'm going to tell everybody to send me a sample, and then I'm going to read the samples. Fortunately, a small percentage actually follow through and send me the samples, so the other group will automatically eliminate themselves.
Right.
Maybe they weren't really as serious as they thought, but
in
any case, I just recently did it. Actually, I recently sent a call out for some people for Packers Talk, and a lot of those people. In fact, let me look at the list here. 1, 2, 3, 4. 5 of those people that originally came through Packers Talk, I then kind of moved up to Cheesehead TV. So I kind of use Packers Talk as like a farm team almost, and if somebody really distinguishes themselves there and we need somebody at Cheesehead TV, I'll say, hey, you want to go write for Cheesehead TV and get a lot more exposure and that kind of thing. In addition to that, people out of the blue send us requests all the time, especially Cheesehead TV. Hey, I'm a Packers fan. I want to write about the Packers. And again, I'm polite to everybody and respond and say, fine, send me a sample, even if we don't have anything now. If it's really good, I have a folder, not a manila folder, an electronic folder where I keep people's names who I've talked to I thought would be good candidates in the future. So that's how it works.
Nice. And so in all of that, it's easy to get people because it sounds like you say, hey, who's interested? You get a bunch of responses, but have there been times when you've recruited like specific individuals to come and write?
Yes.
We'll leave it at that. All right.
Well, yeah. I mean, I can't give away all my secrets.
Right.
I don't think it was any of the people on the list. I think they all pretty much either responded to a call or they contacted me directly. But
Sure, because you're going to always
Sorry to
have.
be mysterious here,
Yeah.
but
Oh, it's great. You're adding to the mystique of the whole thing. That's wonderful.
No, it's great. Well, yeah, because I would imagine you're going to always have, you've been around for a long time. You've got so many different connections that you're going to always have people giving you a heads up. Hey, if you're looking, this person is really got talent, or I know this part. Yeah. So you probably get a lot of great recommendations that way too.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Mhm.
But
Very cool.
it is crazy the way how Don described you as being like ground zero for a lot of the content that's out there. It's that's an opinion Don and I have, or a realization I should say that we have, because so many guests that we've had on Al have said, like, you know, it all goes back to Jersey
Right,
Al. Like, it always seems
right.
to trace back to there and back to you. You know, at
It's
some
my
point.
coaching tree or my blogging tree. I don't know, whatever you want to
Yeah.
call it.
They got blogging tree like that.
You know,
Yeah.
it's funny. I made the list because I've been wanting to do that for a long time, because
Mhm.
I know there's all these people out there, and I'm like, you know what? I should at least document this so I don't forget anybody if anybody asks me, you know. So
Mhm.
it was actually
Yeah.
a good exercise for me.
I love
I
that.
wasn't meaning to show off or anything
No,
like that.
no.
I've actually
No,
been
it was
meaning to do
perfect.
that for myself,
Yeah.
you know, just
That's
to have
cool.
that list. But anyway,
Yeah,
and
that's
some of those
really cool.
branches, some of those branches just have, you know, borne so much fruit, to keep it the metaphor. I mean, you mentioned
Right.
Andy Herman, then all of the people who
Right.
do stuff for Pack a Day, which is like, you
Yeah.
know, a small
Tons.
army of brilliant
Right.
podcasters, like that alone, you know.
right?
Mhm. Yeah, and we've had most of these folks on our show, like Matt said, and it does it. It's all your name always seems to come up,
Yeah.
and that's why we're so jazzed that you just said yes when we asked if you would be our guest. Like, we got to find out what's this all about. So Jersey Al. Okay, so let's go back to our standard questions before we get to our superlatives, because I think we have a couple minutes, sort of. So, there's a few actually. So I wanted to know, we wanted to know, because we're starting to pivot our interest to the draft now. I always wait till after Super Bowl. I just can't, like, with my brain. I need a break, take a week off, and then it's okay. I want to find out what's going to happen with draft, and then I get all giddy and excited again. Like, it's crazy. So, who's your how invested are you in the draft in general? Who's your go-to draft content creator, and what are you the most anxious about for the Packers draft?
Well, that first question, you hit me right at the right time. How invested are you? I'm in the middle. I'm also the editor-in-chief of the Chiefs TV Draft Guide.
Mhm.
So I'm the guy that puts the whole team together, gets
Okay.
people to write feature articles.
Right.
Once people submit things, and I've got two other editors. We have an editing team that goes through everything. We check every statistic, every measurable for every player that we. I mean, it's a lot of freaking work. Let me tell
Yeah.
you. So I'm invested. Yeah, I'm very invested.
Mhm. Yeah,
and
we love
really,
that.
my whole life, the draft was always like a bit of an obsession for me. So it kind of fits that I ended up doing this.
Okay.
Back in the day, once upon a time, there was no internet, and it was the 1970s, and you know the Packers had their run, and now they were bad. There was only one hope, right? And that was the draft, right? And that was
Right.
one hope that
That
somehow
was it.
Packers would somehow find success again, is get new players in. So I was so excited every year for the draft, but there was no draft information, nowhere, right? I mean, my local paper would do, like they'd do a series for the Giants. They'd say, all right, here's 5 offensive linemen that the Giants might be interested in, and they do every position like that. And that was my main source of players that were out there, actually.
Mhm.
And then once the draft happened, and at that time there were a lot more rounds than 7. How do you find out who the Packers drafted in the 10th round or whatever?
Mhm.
Well, being in New Jersey, I wasn't getting any Packers news, that's for sure. So one day a year, I would go and buy the New York Times, because the New York Times would publish that every single player that got drafted, and I'd be looking down. Green Bay. Who'd they draft? Oh, some Eastern Illinois. Okay, well, they needed safety. You know, that's all I knew. But then I discovered Packer Report, which was a magazine at the time, right? And I subscribed to that. The problem with Packer Report was by the time it got to me, it was already like 10 days from what they're reporting on that happened. So it was in season. I was getting a Packer Report talking about 2 games ago. Another game had already happened. But it was better than nothing. At least I was getting information about the Packers, some articles, whatnot. So, and around draft time, then obviously I would get some better draft information. So I go back a long ways with the draft, basically.
And I mean, the work that you put into the Cheesehead TV draft guide, I'm just going to say it, like, there's a lot of good draft guides out there that are Packer specific. Yours is the best, man. I'm not just saying that 'cause you're here, but like, there's so much content. It's so well written, so much good stuff in there. So much analysis. I look forward to it every time it comes out. So I'm really excited. I'm excited for years. Yeah, no, of course.
This is actually our 14th year doing it. I think it's my 7th or 8th as the editor. Another gentleman, Brian Caribou, who used to be the editor, he used to actually write. He was the main writer for Cheesehead TV, and I kind of took over for him when he left to open a bar restaurant in Madison called Beer Rock. If you're ever in Madison, place called Beer Rock.
Beer Rock?
Yeah, it's I don't remember which nationality it is. It's something like Hungarian or Polish or something, and it's actually a type of food. It's some type of food, and they name the bar and restaurant. They do craft beers and sell food and whatnot. So anyway, now we're really getting off tangent.
I know, that's good. We like restaurant recommendations. That's great. We love that.
But anyways, how did I start? What was the beginning of that?
And then what are you the most anxious about with this year's draft?
Yeah, and before I say that, you also asked me about other draft sites that I like, and I want to give a couple of shouts out to them or who I like. Ben Fennell, love Ben Fennell, love his clips that he does, and especially since he likes to focus on offensive line and defensive line, which is like my thing too, especially the offensive line, because in my illustrious high school career, that's what position I played. So Ben Fennell is definitely one. I'm going to give a couple of others that, I mean, there are plenty of them. I mean, a few lesser known ones, or I mean, the first one might be known, but maybe just the people of my generation, Our Lads. Okay, so they publish a draft guide. They've been doing it for forever. Our Lads draft guide, and they've just recently started doing things like videos. So they now have a YouTube channel, and they talk about our top 5 wide receivers, and so they've moved into the modern times a little bit. It was always just a printed guide,
Right.
So, but they know their stuff. The company was started by a couple of former professional scouts that worked for NFL teams. So they really they know their stuff. So that's one. And the other one is one called Draft Tech, who are basically a bunch of people like me, fans / writers / bloggers, one representing each team. I used to be the Packers analyst for Draft Tech for 4 or 5 years until I just had way too much to do. I had to let go of something. But they're a bunch of dedicated people. They do a great job with they have a big board. They do position rankings, the whole thing. So I just wanted to give them a shout out too.
Nice.
Love that.
I mean, like when I think of the big ones, I think of, Dane Brugler's The Beast, for example. Right. So good to hear about some other ones that I was not aware of.
Yeah.
And,
cool.
And as far as being anxious for the Packers draft, man, the one I can't get away from safety. I mean, I just cannot get away from safety. Everybody wants to say, well, what about cornerback? What about off-ball linebacker? What about offensive line depth? They're like, yeah, sure. Every draft you need to dip into different spots. But man, that safety room for the Packers.
Yep.
if there even is a safety room anymore, because who knows if any one of them are going to be back. Anthony Johnson will be back, right? Because he was just a rookie, but who the heck knows? So to me, that's the main thing. Unfortunately, there aren't, from what everyone's saying, and I don't do the safeties for the draft guide. I do the offensive tackles. So really that's the only position I ever feel comfortable talking about. But supposedly people who follow the safeties and whatnot say there aren't a lot of good ones in the first round. So fortunately, Packers do have a lot of picks. So maybe we can pick up a couple, and I'm hoping that they can actually tap free agency and maybe pick up a safety too.
Yeah, I saw a picture of Jordan Love talking to Antoine Winfield Jr. on Twitter today, and I was like, okay, right?
Okay.
Little
recruiting there.
That's cool.
Yeah. So anyway, that's my big concern about the draft and free agency. We got to get some safety help.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. It's exactly that. I'm nervous about it. I'm anxious about it for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just when you talk about how things used to be, where it was just written and you'd get information like 10 days later or whatever, to now, like, it's made fans, I think, even more obsessive about their teams, because they can, they have access to what their team wants, what their team's probably not 100% of what their team's doing, in terms of scouting, but just the involvement and the connection that the draft process has in terms of fandom is really exciting for me. I never would have thought I'd be interested in that.
And they're all very sure of what their team should be doing too. So nobody listens to them.
Yeah, well, yeah, I don't know enough about anything to say that the team should listen to me, but when they do something that I think they're going to do, or just that I think they might do, even, I'm like, yay me. I got something right.
I thought of that myself.
I got something right, but not that I got it right, but just that I guessed right or whatever. So, but it's fun. I think it's fun, and it keeps us busy during the off season, because then it's like you blink and then they're in training camp, and yeah, it's so exciting. Next thing you know, there'll be another season. So
can't come fast enough.
Okay, so two-part question. We ask everyone this question: what is the one thing you love the most about the Packers online community, and one thing you would change if you had the power to change it?
Well, I think you just hit on it. Basically, what you just said is just the Packers online community, the passion that everybody has, right? And the breadth of information that's at your fingertips, right? Obsessive about it, and that leads me to the things that maybe I would change. Is people who think they know everything, right, and get upset, and you've got the Twitter assholes, as I like to call them, who just trolls, the more polite term, I guess, but we don't use polite terms in New Jersey, so. And then it's something about Facebook too. The people on Facebook that talk about the Packers, I've never met a more clueless bunch about the team and about what is it about Facebook? What is it? I don't
they're
get
casuals. I think they're casuals. That's what it is.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
So those are two things. The other thing that just kills me every day is, and as an editor and a blogger and writer, is probably the reason, are clickbait articles. I mean, every day my Google news feed comes in and, Packers make stunning addition to the coaching staff, and it's like some quality control assistant or anything to just get you to click on there drives me insane. We don't do that. If any of my writers start doing stuff like that, I'll tell them to stop. Even though it would probably get us more engagement and more clicks and whatnot. I'm not about that.
Yeah,
that's probably that'd be my biggest one if I could change, is what that's become.
Yeah, sure. We get such different answers from all our guests for that one, and that's another, like, we haven't heard that one before. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny you talk about Facebook. the fandom there and how informed they are. I was on Facebook a lot years ago, and eventually I was like, I need something better for like Packers content. That's what drove me to Twitter in the first place and getting involved with Packers Twitter, is because like I just need something different, you know, and something more more well informed. I think especially because like Facebook is gonna be mostly people you know, versus like a better wider pool of who's out there who might, you know, be more well informed and better able to give a good opinion on Twitter. But like you said, there's still a lot of trolls on Twitter. There's still a lot of noise from that kind of a thing. A lot of really dumb comments on you know, articles and other people's posts and stuff like that. So that's definitely a part of it. But still, just to you know, the people who we know, that we all know, you know, through Packers Twitter, it's fantastic. You know,
So good. You know, I guess I'm lucky. I don't even know why. I don't know why, but when I started getting into the Packers, like really getting into them, I just went to Twitter. I don't know why. I never even dawned on me to do that. Well, I don't. Yeah, Facebook is, for me, it's different. It's like relative. It's a little more superficial. Yeah.
Yeah.
To that point, and you touched on that before, Matt, saying, well, it's people you know. I have 2 Facebook accounts.
Mm-hmm.
I have a personal one for people that I really know, you know, friends, relatives, etc.
Yeah.
And pretty much none of them are Packers fans, you know. And then I have Jersey Al Facebook account, and that's where I encounter all these knuckleheads on Facebook. If anybody from my personal Facebook account is listening, I wasn't talking about you guys. I'm not insulting you guys. You guys are okay. Anyway.
Yeah, I used to spend more time on Facebook than I do now, but I don't. I think you can find problems on any of the platforms for sure. But yeah, it seems like Facebook has a reputation for that with politics too. And I don't know how I managed to stay out of that for the most part, but I guess it's just how I do things, that I don't get too. I mean, I'm not saying I never had a situation, because I'm human, but I know a lot of people are like, so they think Facebook is worse, and so it must be, because
it must be
so many people.
Trust me.
I do.
I only did it for like, you know, to get our articles somewhere else where people would see them and that type of thing. You know, that's the only reason I created the Jersey Al account. My personal account, you know, I'm posting pictures of my grandkids and looking at other people's pictures of their grandkids, and that's really all it is. You know,
I'm just like, you're making me think about my own, like, how did I get on Twitter in the first place? I mean, I think Twitter I went to for news-ish kind of like opinions, news, and somehow or another I just started when I was interested in the Packers, fine, because I didn't love football my whole life. Even though I was from Wisconsin, I haven't been in Wisconsin for way more than half of my life. But I just became really passionate about the Packers kind of over time. But then when COVID happened, I just went like full on. I got to learn everything I can type of thing. And we started this podcast and all of that. So, but I just went right to Twitter. Nobody told me to. I just did. I'm really glad. I'm just like really happy you're saying this. So.
It's not the homing beacon to Packers fans and those who picked up on it.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about it here, Don, since we're talking about it. It occurs to me, like, what drove me to Twitter was specifically there'd be a lot of interviews with Packers people that would show up on Twitter before it was on like the Packers.com website.
Oh,
so
right.
I'd go there, and then I'd see, it was actually really 2 people that kind of really then made me like get more invested. It was Aaron Nagler and Dusty Evely from the stuff they had posted. I'd be like, oh, this is interesting. I want to check their stuff out. And so then I get to know other people who are writing and posting stuff on Twitter, and just kind of like, you know, branched out from there and evolved from there. So I place a lot of blame, I guess, with Nagler and with Dusty for sucking me in. So good work, guys.
Thanks a lot, Nagler.
A lot.
Okay, last question. Oh, go ahead.
Before you get, I just wanted, before I forget, there was one thing I wanted, going back to the draft guide.
Yeah.
There's just one thing I wanted to mention. In addition, as Matt said, there's a lot of different types of content in there. And my thing has always been to have some feature articles, which maybe aren't necessarily about the draft. They don't have to be, you know. So Sometimes they are, and sometimes it's a mix. So, but this year, I'm really, really excited about what we have. So, can I just preview that a little bit?
Please.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love it.
We have writing one article is Christian Watson's dad. Seen him
Oh,
on
I
Twitter.
love him.
Nice. Yeah, he's such a good Twitter follow. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
he's going to give you an insider look of what it's like for a college prospect who's not a big name. He's not invited to the combine type of thing. What the path is for that player to get to the NFL draft. What he has to do to impress teams. How teams evaluate guys like that. So a little pull the curtains back.
Right.
Nice.
I love when he does that on Twitter, right? When he does, fantastic. But actually, all right, that's one. Number two, you'll also like, and actually, you pronounce his name differently than I did, so I don't know if I'm wrong. Dusty?
Evely. It's Evely.
Evely. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
That's how
I
pronounce
probably
it.
said Evely. Did I say Evely?
You did.
I have
It's
that.
Evely,
I have that habit. I have
I
that.
started to doubt myself that maybe I was saying it wrong. But that's okay. So anyway,
Sorry, Dusty.
Dusty Evely. Now you made me say it.
Dusty, I'm so sorry. I know he listens to our show.
It's going to be stuck in my head now, and I'm blaming you, Dawn. So he's going to do an article on our new defensive coordinator. He's going to go back and look at his different stops in the NFL, at Boston College, excuse me, and kind of develop what his true defensive philosophy is and what that means for the Packers and how it'll fit with the Packers personnel and what kind of players they should be drafting to fit that philosophy. So that's already
very
cool. You know,
and he
third
mentioned
one.
He mentioned on Pack a Day this week, and I got really excited about it. So I can't wait for that one. Absolutely,
that's really good. I can't. I love everything he does. So
yeah,
I had to get. I had to twist his arm to do something for the draft guide because he's not really a draft guy. So I said, "Look, it doesn't have to be about the draft. It's okay." So
we're gonna get him. One day he's gonna be like into the draft. We just, just like finding ways to get him in. And
the third one is also not about the draft. It's going to be from Paul Brettel, who I really think is a really good writer as well. I was really upset when he got a real job and left us, but in any case, he's going to do a deep dive on the Packers wide receiver room, the young guns. Deep dive on each one, how they complement each other, whether they do or they don't, how they fit into LaFleur's scheme, kind of look at that whole scenario. And I can't wait to read that as well because he's really good at analyzing and doing deep dives like that. So
he's one of the best writers about the Packers out there, hands down. And I'm including like beat writers, bloggers, anything else. He's easily one of the best writers out there.
Yeah, he's great.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So everybody who's listening, you have to get the draft guide to get those 3 articles.
It's coming out April 3rd. You'll see lots of stuff all over Twitter and YouTube and whatnot with links to where there's no link now, but you'll be able to get it April 3rd. Don't worry, we'll find you.
Oh yeah.
When do pre-orders start?
We don't do pre-orders. We stopped doing that.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
We used to do that, but we don't do the pre-order thing anymore. At this point, we just release it and order it that day, and you got it immediately. That's it.
April 3rd.
It's a lot easier, trust me.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
Just the point.
Speaking of DCs, did you guys hear that San Francisco 49ers fired their defensive coordinator?
That's insane to me.
Yeah.
Well, my first thought was, I wonder if the Packers would have interviewed him if he was available. But I don't know.
That's a polluted mindset, Dawn.
I know. I know. I think
nothing good will come from those thoughts. So just
okay, good. Because I put it right out of my head. I was like,
yeah,
we don't need their leftovers.
Polluted.
Actually, I like the Hafley pick. I really do.
Yeah.
Admittedly, I knew nothing about him.
Right.
Zero.
Mm-hmm.
nothing, but everything I've read, and I'm looking forward to reading more from Dusty on it. But so far, everything I've read, I think fits what the Packers really need.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Hopefully it works.
Hopefully, very excited about it. Very optimistic for this.
Yeah, I'm excited. So who in your
Likewise.
life, Al, who in your life supports you the most so you can spend so much time as a podcaster blogger for the Packers community, especially when you had your business and everything? I mean, you're partly part-time retired now, but because we want to thank them.
Yeah.
We like to appreciate the people behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Supports isn't the right word. It's more like puts up with me.
Okay.
So kudos to my wife for putting up with me and all this silliness and Packers things that I do. So she deserves a lot of praise.
Yay. Well,
Absolutely.
thank you to Mrs. Jersey Al.
This is Jersey Al.
Well, we're really excited that you are going to stay on for our superlatives for this week. And so in
What
that,
can I use this to offer?
Yeah, usually what we do is we go like around where we do one at a time. So would you like to would you like to get us started?
Sure. Well, I actually already mentioned one, and that's Tazim Wajid Walid. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. Best new Twitter follow by far in the Packers Twitterverse.
Yes.
Agreed.
The guy is just amazing. He gives us so much information, so much detail, so much behind the scenes info that we would never know as fans. If you're not following him, his Twitter account is NFL Hitman 33. Please follow him. You will thank me for it.
That's right. You learn a lot reading his stuff, and he read a lot of like pretty long form.
That's why I had to get him to write something for the guide. I had to. I said I got to get him in there. And fortunately, he agreed.
Good call, editor in chief. That's a good call. That's why That's why
I got the chief.
That's recruiting people. Like I was asking about. There's an example right there. You recruited him.
Right. That's perfect.
Yeah.
Maddie, what do you have? You have one?
Yeah. So I actually have 4 this week, but I can make them fairly short-ish each. But the first one is going to be best video. So this was the video called "I Won NFL Fan of the Year." So this was Tom Grassi and Johnny Barks documenting, I think, like 5 or 6 minutes worth of what that weekend was like and kind of leading up to it. And one of my favorite things about it was, for the people who watched the whole 30 and 30 series last summer. From like about for the 5th second into the video, they start using that music that was like from every episode of 30 and 30, which just hearing that again just brought back such like happy memories of the whole event and how it happened over the summer. Like, how so many of us got a chance to meet Tom Grassi when he was going around from city to city. So just right there, like it had me right away, and to see some of the behind the scenes stuff and what it was like for Tom to experience that. It was awesome. I mean,
it was so good.
It was funny because Al, last week the news broke that he got Fan of the Year because the NFL Honors were on, last Thursday, and we just freaked out. We were just so excited.
We were recording
where we were recording, and to this whole last week to see people, just their outpouring of support and enthusiasm and excitement for Tom has been amazing. So
you weren't surprised though, were you?
I wasn't, but I was. It's like I was nervous for him. He already knew at that point, I guess. But I was like, gosh, I hope he gets it. He deserves it so much. He did all that work for charity. He definitely deserved it. That's for sure.
Yeah, to me, that was a lock. How could anybody compare with what he accomplished?
Yeah.
Right.
Show me anybody that even came close.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
I guarantee they don't exist. So
that's right.
Well deserved.
True. True.
Very well deserved. Definitely. All right, Dawn, what do you got?
Well, mine is somewhat related. It's best post NFL honors tweet. It goes to Johnny Barks. And of course, Johnny is Tom's sidekick.
I know what you're talking about.
And his tweet is short and simple. Someone just asked for a picture with Tom because they thought he was Macaulay Culkin.
And now I
Really?
can't unsee it. Now I can't unsee it.
I was like,
I'm trying to paint that visual, and I don't know.
I can
It's
see
not
it.
working. I don't know.
I can totally see it.
Sorry,
It's like,
Tom. No offense.
oh,
No, I think he's probably happy
adorable.
that you can't see it. That's probably better that you can't see it.
No, he's that's not an insult. I think it's just, it's just a Johnny thing, and it
Mhm.
was really funny.
That's fine.
Okay. What else do you have? Do you have another one, Jersey Al? Do you like to be called Al or
Yeah.
Jersey Al?
You can call me Al. That's fine. Like the song.
Yeah, I was
Call me
gonna say.
Okay. Other than Cheesehead TV and Packers Talk, which obviously are the first two places I go for Packers information and
Mhm.
being self-serving here, the next one, which has become my go-to without a doubt, is, and it's changed. It used to be something else, but it's now Packers Wire. Now, it's not just because a bunch of the guys there are former Packers Talk and Cheesehead TV. It's really not because of that. But
Yeah.
if I want to just get a quick, if I've been, off Twitter for 24 hours, which happens, I'm not tied to my phone, and
Right.
I'm like, I got to catch up on what happened,
Mhm.
I'll read Cheesehead TV, but we do more analysis more than news, so like, where am I going to get my Packers news? I go right to Packers Wire, and everything that happened is right there. I used to go to Packers News and, Milwaukee Journal Sentinel and all those places, but sadly, I think they've kind of fallen off a bit.
Yeah.
So Packers Wire is it for me. Not to say anything bad about anybody, because obviously they're trying to make a living over there. But
Mhm.
Right.
And so Packers Wire, that's Zach Cruz and Paul Brettel, right?
yep,
Two people you mentioned already. That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
yeah. Brennan Rupp is
Brandon.
who
Yeah.
does all the draft stuff for them. He's great with the draft stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
He did
he's fantastic. Yeah.
he did some draft work for us in the draft guide the last 2 years. Couldn't do it this year because, like Dusty, he's just everywhere. He's doing everything for everybody. He just doesn't have the bandwidth. He would have
Right.
loved to, but I understand. So, but he
Yeah,
does a great job with the draft stuff.
Yeah, he's one of the best draft follows for Packer stuff, I'd say.
Yeah.
Totally. Top 5 for sure.
Yeah, and I don't know how he does it, but he's got a profile on a new player every day leading up to the draft. He starts at 100. I think today was 82 or something like.
Right.
How do you profile a player every day?
Mhm.
I don't get it. So good
Yeah.
stuff.
You don't sleep.
The Packers Wire.
Yeah.
Don't sleep. You can get all kinds of stuff done.
And there's no
Absolutely.
paywall. And there's no paywall too.
Which is awesome.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right, I'll do one now. This is Best New to Me podcast. It's not a new podcast, but it only just came on my radar recently. So hat tip to our friend Katie Sunderman for alerting me to the existence of this podcast. This is Lori Butler and Gary Ellerson's show. It's called the Leap 36 podcast. And the vibe of it is very different from other things that I've been listening to, because it's just like two old head players talking about their experience out there as former NFL folks, and kind of their life out there. And they'll talk about the team, of course, they'll talk about the games, but it's just like all kinds of tangents, and they're both really funny, and like just their interaction, their chemistry is it's very funny. It's kind of off the wall a lot of times. A really good listen. I didn't even know it existed until Katie told me about it, but it is a lot of fun.
Ooh, check it out. Are they on YouTube or strictly podcast?
I don't know. I've just been listening to
They're
them.
probably podcast. Now that YouTube has podcasts, they have all the podcasts, so it's probably both. So not necessarily video. Like a lot of
True.
podcasts on YouTube. People are so used to YouTube, so they'll watch it, and it will just be like a logo for the whole time, and you can see in the comments like, "Where's the video?"
years ago, we decided to try that with Packers with Cheesehead Radio.
Yeah.
Let's put it up on YouTube, and all it was our logo. And I eventually said, this is really stupid. I don't know who's gonna watch it here,
Right.
But now. It's kind of come back, and like you said, now they're doing podcasts separately. So,
right. Yeah. For
we
people who are
actually,
just listening. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. It's funny because you can never please 100% of people.
No.
Okay, so that's a good one, Matt. I will check that out for sure.
Good time.
Okay, my next one comes with a clip, and it's best memory since we're done with the season now, officially, finally. I think this is fun. Best memory of the 23-24 season. And I mean, for me, it was the Saints versus Packers game. Partly because we went, but the way that game went. But let's hear somebody else who had that same opinion.
Game of the season, where you look back and you go, that's pretty good.
Definitely the Saints game. I think looking back on the season, that game propelled us into, being able to get in the playoffs. But early on, obviously, we had lost the game, and being down 17 against the Saints at home, and being able to put a comeback like that was special, and it definitely helped us going forward. But
so I was not expecting that answer, and I was so excited, and I didn't realize I was just being like because of my personally being there, and it was like with this weird game, and then down by 17, as he mentioned, but then I was like, oh my gosh, it was, as he mentioned, it was pivotal to them becoming up in the contender in the playoffs. And that was like, wow. I mean, I wasn't even thinking about it in those terms. So, but that was really cool. Matt and I went to our first game together at that game. We met there.
Oh,
so,
okay.
yeah. So, and Katie Sunderman was there with us too. So we all three went.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
right.
And Matt's cousin. And yeah, it was just very
It was
special.
awesome. It was such a great weekend.
It was a great weekend, but to find out
There's
that
never
really,
a bad weekend in Green Bay.
well,
right. That was
but
great.
There's never a bad weekend.
but I love
even if they lose, it was still you had a good weekend.
Oh, for sure,
right.
100%.
Well, food and people, and just being at Lambeau is always amazing, no matter what.
That's what it's about. Yep.
Yeah, it was so great. It was so great. Yeah, but then to find out that the team, that it mattered to the team that much and all that, it was just like, oh, that's cool. So.
Good on Don.
Now I officially have to say goodbye to this season. I'm not going to bring this up anymore. like next, now we're going to talk about what's going to happen next season. I'm going to let it go. I'm going to let this season go. It's hard to do. Okay, who's next? Al, do you have another one?
I've got two other ones, but
awesome.
We're going one at a time here. I'm going to go music, right?
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna give you guys a little tip. Have you ever heard of Lucinda Williams?
Yeah.
I know the name, but I don't. Is she country or not? What kind of what genre? Sort of.
You're on the right track.
Okay.
Most people put her in that category, but really she's like a blend of so much. And it's one reason why she never had a lot of like radio success, because nobody knew where to put her. Like the country station said, you're too blues and rock, and the rock stations would say, no, you're too country. So she's this real interesting mix of country, rock, blues, folk, even. Tremendous songwriter. She's been called like the female Bob Dylan, because she writes really meaningful lyrics, not country songs about, your pickup truck and your dog and your case of beer. Sorry.
Neat. No, I'm not into
anyway,
generally
so
for that reason.
your best introduction to Lucinda Williams would be her album called Car Wheels on a Gravel Road.
Okay.
It's about 20, I think, it was 20. She celebrated the 25th anniversary of it last year. It won a Grammy for best country, because that was the best thing they could come up with. There's no, there was nothing else country album, but it's just fantastic. The people who worked on it, the musicians, her lyrics, the songs. I'm telling you, if you've never heard it, go listen to it and thank me later.
All right.
We'll
I'll
check
listen
that
to
out.
that tonight.
I know her stuff from
Let me
Prairie
add
Home
to that.
Companion.
I'm sorry.
I was just saying, I know her stuff from Prairie Home Companion. I used to listen to that a lot.
Oh, that's how I know her. That's how I know her. Okay, yes.
She's on there quite often, actually.
Oh,
But,
yes.
what were you saying, Al? Sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna say, for me, she was really the first thing that actually, the first artist that actually made me even consider listening to anything that could be close to country.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, I was hard rock all the way, you know, Led Zeppelin, The Who, you know, that whole era. That's what I grew up with, and even to this day. But although I like more modern groups like the Red Hot Chili Peppers and Black Crowes and those guys. But any case, so I heard one song. I used to have Sirius radio, and there was a station on there called Spectrum. And basically it was called Spectrum because they played all different genres of music. You never knew what you were going to get. And I heard one of her songs there, and I said, "Oh, who is this?" You know, and I had to check her out, and that turned me on to Lucinda Williams. So
Nice.
kudos to her for opening up my eyes a little bit, you know, expanding my horizons.
I love that. Yeah, I mean, it's so easy to get kind of even with something like Sirius Radio, you know, where I have like very specific stations. Like we actually listen to the one that plays a lot of grunge a lot of the time because my kids are getting really into that. My 11 and 7-year-old kids' favorite band right now is Nirvana, which I think is kind of hilarious. But so I listen to like that station a lot. But yeah, breaking out of that, hearing stuff you're not used to, I think is so important.
Right.
Just because you're missing a lot of stuff otherwise, you know.
Right.
Love that.
And I love Bob Dylan. And I know I've heard Lucinda Williams. It's like the name sounded familiar, but now I'm going to go listen to that album. That's it.
Yeah,
Please do.
Thank you for that recommendation.
Now listen to the whole thing in order.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's an album.
That was back when they made albums a certain way, need to be played, you know, in order. Instead of just streaming individual songs. So listen to the album in order.
I'm an album truther, big time, man. Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we like music on this channel too.
That's right.
Music and pizza. Okay, Maddie. Oh, and I did have another thought. It's gone. My thought is gone. Never mind.
Then it mattered. All right. So my next one, and I also still have 2 left. So I guess we're gonna have 4 around here, which is awesome. So my this one is funniest and most creative. This goes to our friend Erin Alice. She did this amazing series of Valentine's Day cards, you know, Packers themed ones. I don't know how she's so funny. Just kills me. Of course, I reposted that. I think probably a lot of people saw those, but if you didn't catch those, they're worth going back to look for. I'm still laughing about some of them actually. So short and sweet one there, but definitely Erin's annual Valentine's. These ones did not disappoint. They're very funny.
All right. I was very much off Twitter yesterday. I had an experience. I go like at this point like once a week for a massage, and it's on Wednesdays. And so I go to my massage place, and it's like, oh my God, it was all couples massages, and there was like, it was decorated, and I was walking. I had to walk through like 2 hallways of balloons and Valentine's balloon red hearts and balloon. I'm just like, oh my God, I'm so damn embarrassed right now. Oh, and then she tried to give me a balloon. That was just me, It's like I completely forgot it was Valentine's Day. It's like, oh, it's Valentine's. But it's fun. It's good.
Do you have another one, Dawn?
Oh yeah, I do. What is it? It is best. Oh, I forgot about this one.
Oh,
Best Mojo, and this is also the best non-FL sport to watch right now, and that is women's volleyball. San Diego has their first professional women's volleyball team. So I've been watching some of the matches, and they're streaming everything for the league on YouTube. The quality isn't super, super great, blah, blah, blah.
Sure.
But I've been watching a couple, getting to know, the jargon and all that. I love volleyball. Usually it's beach volleyball here. But either way, it's great. I used to like to play when I was younger, nothing serious, which is fun. And so San Diego has their women's volleyball team. And guess who's on our team?
I don't know.
Hints?
Yeah.
Oh, did you say Prince?
No, I said hints.
Hints.
Oh, hints. I was like, no, it's
That'd be
not.
something.
Because they could be anybody in the world. It'll give us an idea.
I thought somebody might catch the connection. It's Ronica Stone, J-Lo's boyfriend, J-Lo's girlfriend.
Yeah, Joe's girlfriend. Okay.
And it's so funny because I feel really badly for her. And the inaugural game here, the first game in San Diego at home, because they're starting with 2 away games, is a week from tomorrow night. So I do want to go. I don't know if I will. I kind of we'll see. I almost got the tickets yesterday, and then that thing happened in Kansas City, and it's just like, I think I'll just stay home and watch it online. I mean, anyway. But what's funny is I was watching one of the matches, and this dude, it kept saying, you know who her boyfriend is? Jordan Love. And it just went on and on. I was so irritated. I just want to go support her. I don't care. I mean, I love Jordan Love and all that, but it's like, just knock it off. She's a professional athlete. It's not like they did that. They're not going to do that to Simone Biles. Her boyfriend is, plays for the Green Bay. I mean, he might, but it's like, he said it like 10 times during the game. It's like it wasn't once. If he said it once, it'd be like, okay, that's,
once I feel like that's okay.
Yeah, but don't keep bringing it up. And then again, because it was streamed, you could see in the comments, people were like, what is wrong with this guy? Like, she's amazing. And so I'm kind of feeling that protectiveness toward her. And even if, so anyway, but I do like volleyball. I wouldn't probably ordinarily, it's not going to get season tickets or anything like that, but I'm excited for San Diego to have a professional team. It's a fun sport to watch. Non-NFL, of course, the Milwaukee I like basketball too. So it's not like we're lacking in things to entertain us in this country. We have plenty. So,
that's for sure.
Yeah. Oh, and so the reason it's Best Mojo is it's the San Diego Mojos.
Oh, okay. I was wondering where that's coming from.
Yeah. And it's a fun team, and it's owned by an ex-volleyball player, an ex-professional volleyball. I think she was an Olympian as well. So
cool.
Maybe Ronica will go to the Olympics one day. I don't know. She's pretty good. So, all right, there's my 3. So Jersey Allen and Matt, you have 2 more, 1 more each, don't you? So what do you have, Val?
I'm going to go wine here. I'm going to give you a couple of recommendations.
All right.
Oh, I'm going to want it now. Okay.
My favorite wines under $20. They're probably both just barely under $20 now because they've gotten popular and people know that they're good. So they're raising the prices. But in any case, and usually you can find these in most wine stores, at least in this part of the country. I don't know about where you guys are, but certainly if you have like big chains like Total Wine, is that something that you guys have? Total Wine or anything? Okay.
No, but we have really good wine stores here because I'm in California. Yeah.
So anyway, I'm going to give you the first one is from Italy, naturally. Okay. It's what's known as a Super Tuscan, which usually is a Sangiovese blended with either Cabernet or Merlot or something else. This one happens to be half Sangiovese and half Merlot. It's called Lucente, Lucente. Okay. Lucente. Beautiful bottle. It doesn't have a paper label. It's one of those bottles where the label's engraved and everything.
Ooh.
Nice.
So it really stands out. The bottle does as well. You see that in the store, spend the $18, $19, whatever it is, and have it with some pizza. And you're set. That's one.
Here it'll have to be pasta. I'm sorry, it's just not going to.
Well, that's fine. Perfectly fine.
Okay, I love that recommendation, Lucenta.
The second one, I'm just going to give you 2. The second one is actually a Coppola wine.
Okay.
Who actually, there's lots of celebrities that have wines, and he actually has some good wines.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So the one that I like, we actually went out to his winery out in Sonoma when we were visited a few years ago, which is an interesting place. He actually has like movie memorabilia in the place as well. You can do a little. We did some wine tastings, but
Mhm.
The one that I liked, which I think you can find in most wine stores, it's the Black Diamond Claret.
Okay.
Mhm.
It's a Bordeaux blend style, like a French Bordeaux blend style. So it's going to be a blend of Cabernet, Merlot, Petit Verdot, Malbec. Any of those are allowed to be in a Bordeaux blend, and he tries to mimic that. It actually is another bottle that stands out because it has like a gold netting on the outside.
Oh,
Mhm.
Great as a gift wine. You want to buy somebody a
Right.
bottle of wine for a
Yeah.
gift because it looks really impressive and fancy
Yeah.
under $20, if you're not looking to
love
spend
that.
the money. So those are
Right.
my 2 wine recommendations for everybody out there.
We have that one in our regular grocery stores here.
Yeah, like I said, that's easy
Yeah,
to
that's a
find.
good one. Yeah, that's a good. But I haven't tried it. He opened a restaurant years ago. I think it was probably when he started the winery. I mean, I don't know what year he started, but in San Francisco, and it was across. It was like on one of those streets that go like that, like a triangle, and it was right across from my favorite. It was in Chinatown, sort of like the border. And my favorite Chinese restaurant was right across from there. So I was like, I gotta go over there one of these days to have there. But it looked like a great menu, and it was always packed back in the day. I don't know if it's still there or not, but
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna look for those wines. Definitely. My
Yeah.
wife's the big wine drinker in our house. That sounds so bad the way I said that, but she's the person who appreciates wine in the house, I should say. So I'm gonna watch
Right.
for both of those. Good recommendations.
Go grab them. Yeah, impress her.
That's right. I heard from an expert. This is a good one.
You take all the credit. You take all the credit. Say, well, I did some research, honey, and
There you go.
I think this would be perfect for your palate. Just have terms like that and get some brownie points out of it at least.
Good.
Yeah.
Good thinking. I like it, Al. I like it. All right, well, I have one more. Last superlative.
right.
So, as I mentioned last week, Dawn, I'm going to try to do trying to spotlight on one piece of draft content from a different creator every week. So the one I just want to talk about this week real quickly is Acme Packing Company is starting up their series again. So this is Justice Mosqueda and Tyler Brook doing a weekly thing about some of the aspects of the draft.
Mhm.
And so I always like their first episode though of this series because they're starting off just kind of laying the groundwork. They're saying, okay, obviously the big change is going to be the defense. So like here are the sort of needs that we think they're going to have based on that kind of a scheme. So kind of like a mini version of what Dusty's writing basically. And then talk a little bit about that, kind of starting to get into the players with that. But it's really more like setting the table initially. And I mean, I've talked about Justice Mosqueda time and time again on this podcast. Of course, he's just so brilliant. And so for him and Tyler, who are two of the best dudes out there, talk about this stuff. It's a great listen. It's highly informative. I'm looking forward to the future installments of their series on that.
Oh, I love it.
Justice, he always says things that really make me stop and think. Like,
Right.
I never looked at it that way.
Right.
It makes me evaluate things.
Yeah.
So cool. Yeah.
I brought up one of his insights from it was like it didn't have a lot to do with football, and I was like, whoa, a couple weeks ago, and he's just he's really brilliant. I like the way he thinks. Very cool. Good, Maddie. I'm excited. Now I'm going to get excited about the draft in women's volleyball for a minute. So, okay. Well, Al, we really appreciate you coming on. Super excited you stayed for the superlatives and brought some great content. I love the recommendations, and I know our audience will as well. And so thank you for your time. It's been so nice to meet you. Do you have any final thoughts before we log off?
I mean, you guys are a lot of fun, which is what made me say yes. You're kind of lighthearted and you like to have some fun and talk about random things, which is always great. I enjoy that. As you can tell, I went off on a bunch of tangents too.
Love it.
Go for it.
Oh boy, we're over an hour and a half already. Wow.
Yeah.
Sorry.
There are the tangents for you. That's what it does. But
that's right.
No, it's been a lot of fun. I thank you very much for having me on and for making it fairly painless for me.
Good.
We'll take it.
And Maddie, any final thoughts before we
Yeah, I mean, though the content fire hose has kind of gotten down to a trickle, there's still a lot of great stuff out there. So still, make sure you're seeking out, especially the people who are getting less attention. Try to find their
Right.
work, because there's a lot of brilliant people out there who are doing a lot of good stuff, especially about the draft right now. But I think we didn't even get to this earlier, Al, is I just wanted to say that Cheesehead Radio has actually become one of my favorite podcasts over this last season. You
We
and
have a fan?
What's that?
We have a fan?
Yeah. You do. It's me, man. I'm the one. No. You and CD and Kelly's rapport is it's so fun. And a thing I really value
You
about
should
it.
hear us off air.
Yeah. I would love to hear that, actually. But no, the thing that I like about it a lot is that.
Let me tell you, sorry, I don't mean to keep interrupting
go
you,
for it.
but let me give you a little secret. Have you ever listened to the very end
The very end.
and just
Yeah.
let it run?
Uh-huh.
Because CD, a lot of times he'll record us like when we're talking beforehand, saying stupid things or whatever, and then he'll put that in as an Easter egg at the very end. So
I was looking
in
forward
case you didn't know, I'm just mentioning that.
Yeah, no, I love that. That's a lot of people miss good stuff at the very end of podcasts if they turn them off when people are starting to sign off. Then that's a great example of it. No, I love that. But I was gonna say, a lot of the content that I consume around the Packers is made by millennials, and that's not like a good or a bad thing. It's just a thing, And so because you guys are a bunch of Gen Xers, it's a different perspective and a different sort of energy you bring to it, and I appreciate that. It's good balance. And I like that's it's tightly structured. It's 4 quarters, and you have these things you hit, and you're all giving your opinions. And of course, there's the hot pockets at the end, which I always enjoy. So no, it's a great show. I don't know why more people aren't talking about it. You should have many more fans, I think. It's a great show.
Oh, thank you. And thank you for calling me a Gen Xer. I appreciate that.
I think you're definitely that range, right? For sure. All right. No, I just want to echo what Don was saying, that it was fantastic having the chance to get to know you a bit more here, Al. We appreciate all that you've done for the Packers community with just all the branches we were talking about in your blogging tree, right? It's inestimable and it's beyond appreciated, and thank you for all the work you've done. But folks, if you're not following, what's that?
I don't take compliments well.
He's
I always hate being
Turtling.
complimented.
He's starting to turtle.
That'll be
covering his
gracious.
neck.
Thank you for the kind words.
Yes, indeed. Well, I mean, I could go on. I'll stop myself there. So
That's fine.
So if you're not following Al's work, you can find him on Twitter at JerseyLGBP, everything spelled like you think it would be. No surprises there, very straightforward. And among other places, of course. So at any rate, before I do the last sign off here, Don, anything else you want to add, or should I go for it?
You can go for it. I do apologize for not asking you both how your week was, because that's usually how we start. I just want to say I got Tasha's catnip bubbles today, and we spent about an hour doing that, which is why she snapped out. She hasn't made an appearance tonight. I did a small video that I shared on Twitter. So if you like bubbles, which I do, or cats. Speaking of random, but I do apologize. I didn't ask how your weeks were, but it's a little late for that. But I did want to just add in that Tosh had a really good week too.
Go Tosh. All right. Glad to hear it.
Okay, Maddie, let's bring her home.
Best cat ever. Okay, so friends, we'd love to have the chance to interview you and shout you out if you're a subscriber and or a football fan. If you'd like to nominate someone to be a guest on our podcast, please let us know. Our DMs are open on all the social platforms. And folks, when you subscribe to our podcast, you help us to keep spreading the love in our community. And the best way to help this podcast grow is by sharing it with your friends and family.
Yes, Maddie, that's right. Because we love you. We're so glad to know you, to be fans of you, and have the luxury of being fans of the most storied team in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
We appreciate your support, your subscriptions, and sharing our pod. And we look forward to seeing you next week on
Hey, we like your pod.
Football in general comes down to discipline and people owning their roles. And when you aren't disciplined or you go outside the